It's a pleasure for me to be back in India. I was last here about this time last year presenting again on the global aluminium outlook. And at the time, really, on a global basis, the only worry people seemed to have was how long can things remain as good as they are? Well, a year later we have the answer, because in Europe, really the outlook has weakened, particularly in Europe, but also globally as a whole. We think Europe might even descend into recession. It's not inevitable, but it might well happen. A number of southern European economies are now already in recession and might even stay in recession in 2012. In really overall, this is because policymakers in the USA and in Europe have damaged confidence, and that's because they haven't really dealt with the issues they've been faced with. In Europe, the issue is one of sovereign debt. That issue has come and gone over the past year, and recently it's come back to the fore with a vengeance, and now it isn't going away. Policymakers have to deal with it, but they have been dithering for a long time. In the US, the issue is one of dealing with the fiscal deficit, and there again, policymakers have not really dealt with the issue. They've been talking a lot, but they've simply been unable to come to a conclusion. And that has really dumped an enormous amount of uncertainty onto the markets as a whole, and that is having an impact on aluminium demand. In particular in Europe, it's mainly Greece which is causing concern. But now we're seeing that spread out to other countries in southern Europe. We're seeing bond yields rise, particularly in Italy and in Spain, and that is causing some major concerns for Europe. So really overall, what has changed in our view is that the outlook for developed economies has been revised down, whereas in emerging markets such as BRIC economies, the outlook is only slightly down. Well, that's possible, maybe, but we do also expect growth to slow in China. The downside risk to our view is that the difference in Europe between stagnation and a region-wide recession is small, and that difference is shrinking. So let's have a look at industrial production forecasts up to 2012. And really what this shows is that it's in the first quarter of 2012 that we expect to see the tightest industrial production growth. The top line is China, and although the growth level does seem to drop a lot in the first quarter of 2012, it still represents very healthy industrial production growth, and kind of a level that other countries love to be able to achieve. The lowest growth, the black line, is Europe, and unsurprisingly there we have the lowest growth that we forecast. So what's the result for demand for aluminium? Well, really, we saw aluminium demand remain firm in the third quarter of the year, but we expect demand for aluminium in China to weaken in the fourth quarter. And that's because the authorities have been working hard to curb inflation. And at the same time, we've seen exports of semis drop because of the weak markets outside of China. Overall, though, we are still very positive for growth. The story is the same. There is still a major urbanization push in China, and also the GDP per capita is expected to continue rising.